let's get this conversation started, and then I know we're gonna have some more people popping on here, but they can watch it back if they want to watch the beginning. So, welcome to our sixth episode of Turn Your Pain to Purpose, and just really glad to be here and see you guys and just have another awesome conversation with Randy and someone who we have come to know over the last year. I mean, the
Yeah,
last probably what
yeah.
6, 7, 8 months.
8 months, yeah. Yeah.
And we're just super excited that he's going to be joining us at the conference in Tampa in January. But he quickly became a very close friend, and we're just really grateful for him and for all that he's doing for the world too, which you guys will find out about. But we wanted to kind of kick it off tonight with a little heart story of us of giving back. You want to share a little bit about just the importance of that for us and just kind of our world and our lives?
Yeah, so, we don't have children of our own, but we've always had a heart for kids in general. And so there's multiple stories within this, but the big heart story has to do with Haiti, and giving back in Haiti. Diana had gone on multiple mission trips with her father and stepmother down in Haiti, and one trip she comes back, and at that time we couldn't communicate really at all. So she comes back, and I picked her up at the airport. I'm driving home, and she's getting emotional. She's telling this story about these children and whatnot, and she essentially, she said, "Hey, we now have some children." And that's kind of how the story started. She went back the next year, and then she comes back and she goes, "Well, now we have an entire school." And so for about 12 years, we have sponsored a school of children in Haiti. Um, and it's just been such a beautiful thing to be a part of. I don't think there's anything, if you're seeking more joy in your life, give back. That's what I would encourage people to do. We've also been a part of big brothers, big sisters. We had a little for about 3 or 4 years there, and then did some stuff with Boys and Girls Club. Just give back if you can. It doesn't always have to be financial, but giving your time, it's just beautiful.
So one of the big pieces of that story about Haiti for us was that we had a new business, and so stepping into that, when said yes to the Lord for taking on those children, it was because it wasn't because we had all this money that we knew what to do with. It was he impressed on my heart that those were our children, and if he told us to take care of those children, that he was going to provide everything that they needed. And so the testimony in that is that he has been faithful over the last 12 years, even the times when our gyms were closed down, and we had COVID and just the ups and downs of business in general, that we've always been able to provide for that entire school for every single month that we've had them for the last 12 years. So for us, it was more of when God tells you to give, we believe you can't outgive God. And so if he says to give, then you give, knowing that he's going to provide everything that you need. And so for our special guest tonight, Randy Molland, when we first met and we had talked about this, it was because his organization is called Go Big to Give Big. And I even said, I think in our first conversation, I was like, and I actually think of that the opposite way of like give big to go big. Because if you give when God says to give, like he's going to continue blessing you too. So it really goes either way.
Yeah.
And just with that kind of as our foundation for tonight, we kind of are going to take this in a little different direction than we have in our other workshops, because Randy has just a really powerful story of how Go Big to Give Big came to be, and just some of the things that he went through, and just explain. And we want him to just have the chance to share that story, and then just share how Go Big to Give Big and this concept like came to be. So without further ado, we would like to welcome our amazing friend, Randy Molland from Go Big to Give Big. Yay! And I'm going to change up
Thank,
you here so I can see you better.
thank you guys. That was a perfect intro to what we do, and is the probably one of the main reasons why we got introduced was because of your guys' background in your giving natures, why Marcus introduced us together, and why you came on my podcast. And absolutely crushed it individually, and it was absolutely amazing. So thank you for coming on the show and sharing that story. I'm excited to share my story a little bit with you guys tonight in preference of the conference, and just enlighten you a little bit of what I went through from my pain to purpose kind of story of how I got to where I am. And it really started growing up in what Tim's story would say is a low income, but not low class family. My parents always took care of my brother and I have an older brother, and always encouraged us to do the right things and make the right choices. And, but never really was able to have income. The reason why is because I had a younger brother. And unfortunately, when he was 6 months old, he passed away from sudden infant death. And so my dad, who was on his entrepreneurial journey, actually had to step down from his company because he spent 6 months of his child's life trying to build a business, and then his child was taken away from him. And he said, I never want to miss anything else of my other boys' lives. And so my dad stepped down from building a business, took a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and we became a single income to a family of four. And that is how we built. And so I realized early on, if I wanted anything in life, I had to work for it. And so when I was 16, I started working, and I got a job as an electrician, learning the electrical trade. My dad was in the trades, and it was very easy for me. So that led to, by the time I was 22, I was a ticketed journeyman electrician that was running multi-million dollar job sites with big crews and had a lot of bright future ahead of me. And I had a good mentor take me in under his wing. And he said, Randy, you've got all the right skills. You've got great leadership skills. You're going to do great things in this world. What you need to focus on now is saving all your money so you can buy a house. That is the number one thing you can do. And listening to my parents and listening to him, everyone said, if you can buy a house, you're going to set yourself up for the future. So that's what I did. By the time I was 25, I was very fortunate to buy my first home, moved into it. And my mentor that had been guiding me for 5 years, he had taught me everything that I knew in the electrical space. One of my closest friends, we lived in the same neighborhoods and had plans to buy the company together and do this really incredible stuff. What he said to me as soon as I bought my house was, Randy, in 25 years, when you pay this house off, you're going to be 50, and you're going to be, financially free. You're going to have no mortgage. You're finally going to be able to do what you want to do in life and travel and live life. Look at your parents. They're 50 and they're going to be stuck working until they're 70. I'm going to be stuck working until I'm 65, but you're going to retire at 50. 2 weeks after he said that exact statement to me, unfortunately, he passed away in a job site accident. I lost one of my best friends in one of the happiest moments of my life. And so here I was sitting in my house that I just worked so hard to buy, looking at the statements that I had just been told by my best friend. He was 42 years old, saying, Randy, when you get to 50, you'll be able to retire. And I thought, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't want to wait till I'm 50, because what if I get hit by a telephone pole next month? Then it's not worth anything. And so I just Googled how to make a ton of money, never work again. And I created this concept that I was going to retire by the time I was 30, so that I didn't have to live like my parents and I didn't have to live like my best friend that passed away. But what I didn't do is I didn't deal with my trauma. I just used it to go create something bigger. So at 25, I decided to build a real estate investment company. And I had scaled that up with quite a bit of success early on. And had like it just turned out to be a really great opportunity for me in the time I was in, with the skills I had and my ability to grow. And we built a really successful real estate investment company. I built it on the wrong morals and the wrong ethics of wanting to get rich, saying F you to the world, and wanting to just completely forget about the pain that I was going through. What that led to was, by the time I was 28, I was sitting at home, came home from working one day and sat down at dinner, and ended up having a non-epileptic seizure at the dinner table right next to my girlfriend at the time. And I remember going to eat something, and my whole body just like mentally, visually just watched it go from 100 to 90 to 80 to 70. I lost all feeling in all my fingers and my body, and fell to the ground and started having convulsions and seizures on the ground, and couldn't control anything for probably about an hour that I was in this state. Ended up going to the hospital. They ran every ECG, EEG. They did every sort of testing on me and said I was 100% perfect. One of the healthiest people that had come in for this kind of symptom. So all they could pin it to was that my body couldn't process the trauma the stress and the pain I was in, and that if I didn't deal with it properly, I was going to end up in the same repeatable pattern for the rest of my life. And so that's when I decided to start getting help. That's when I took therapy. That's when I got a coach. And that's when I realized that there was a lot more to life than just working for money. And it was right out of there that I'll use some good terms, that God put a podcast in front of me. And he said, you need to listen to this one. For whatever reason, I picked this one podcast. And in that podcast, the guy said, if you want to build a business and make $1 million a year, build it to do $2 million, give $1 million away, and you'll become the happiest millionaire on the planet. And he talked a lot about building with purpose and having some sort of giving initiative to give you more inspiration in life than just chasing money. So that's what I ended up doing. I won't go into the full details about building the business, but I ended up taking that initiative, built it into my real estate investment company, where we started donating for every rental door that we had. We donated to charity consistently, and we built that up to be pretty substantial and made a lot of impact in the world, which, like Mike and Diana, made me feel really good. And I was just a good servant for the money that was coming in, because it was all about how much good can I do, not how much money do I need to become rich. And from there, it became apparent that the bigger we went, the more we could give. We need to go big to give big. And I've applied that principle to everywhere in my life, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're not. There is so many principles that I've learned now of how adding giving initiatives into your life can buy you happiness. That is one of the things that I learned, is every time that I donated, every time that I made impact, it made me feel so good. And now I haven't experienced burnout a single day since I've started that. I work probably twice as hard as I do now. My goals are twice as big as they are, but I dealt with the trauma, and I found other ways to excite myself and build the businesses and create the life that I wanted to create. And so that is where I stand now, where I'm building an organization that helps a lot of companies understand this, but is kind of the main framework of the principles of what my foundation in life was built on, was understanding how to go from pain to purpose in the journey. So I'll let you, Mike and Diana, take it from here on any questions you have into that space. But that was what I wanted to just share in some context of how that story went, so then the audience can understand or ask questions around that.
Yeah, it really, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's powerful, man.
And it really is like just a such a beautiful example of taking something really painful and turning it into something really purposeful. And I would want to go back to, like, we talk a lot on here about finding the hot spots and the pain points. And what was it you were running away from dealing with that stuff? Like, what was it, that was it the seizure? Like, when was the moment when you were like, no, I actually have to turn and I have to look at this and I have to dig into this if I want to get through it and like come through it as a better person and do more with my life?
Yeah. I went to a conference, probably similar to what you guys are running. And at the conference, I was talking to some people, and I had built this narrative that my life needed to be perfect and happy and positive all the time. When my parents lost my younger brother, they said, hey, we can't bring him back, but what we can do is be the happiest, positive family on the planet. So I lost my best friend, and that's what I decided to do. I'm just going to be happy and positive and not let any of the trauma or anything like that come up in front of me. I was at a conference, and one of the exercises we had to do was talk about some of our happiest moments. Very easy for me. Then we had to talk about some of our saddest moments. And I realized I couldn't tap into anything that was sad, angry, or challenging on the emotional scale. So on the scale of being happy, super easy. On the side of sad, couldn't tap into a single thing that was there. And so I got labeled as Mr. Perfect at this conference. Everyone's like, oh, look, there's Mr. Perfect that doesn't get emotional, that doesn't feel pain, that doesn't get sad. And it was in that moment that I realized that that wasn't healthy, that there was a big problem. And it was like a self-development workshop. And it was in that workshop when I got surrounded by some great people that allowed me for the first time in my entire life to cry. And I actually let some tears shed, and I share it. Like right now, um, you can buy glasses for people that are colorblind, and they can see color for the first time. And when you put them on, the people cry, and they're just in shock, and they don't know what to do. That's what it was like for me with feeling emotion for the first time. I cried, and then I was like, "Holy smokes, what was that?" and I kind of felt into it. But then I started to lean into it a little bit and understand that that was actually what I needed in my life. And I was surrounded by great people. And I just kept telling myself, if you want to see color, you have to keep wearing these glasses. And that's just what I kept telling myself for the duration of the 3 days at the conference. And I cried basically every hour on the hour for that entire duration of that conference. And that's when I came home and hired a coach and started going to therapy and hitting that, because I realized in that moment when everybody said, it must, like, Mr. Perfect, all you are is happy all the time, that it actually wasn't a good trait to have.
Mm.
Wow. Yeah, and I mean, I just think of like how many people like bottle that piece of themselves up because, was do you feel like was it fear of feeling any of that? Like what was it that kind of held you back from going there for so long?
Yeah, never dealing with the trauma from my brother's death was one of them, and, I did some therapy, but always was bullied in school. I A lot of it goes back to my childhood where we were watching a movie. This is like the childhood trauma stuff that I've worked through, but it was like, watching a movie in, elementary school where somebody had died, and I just started crying in elementary school and didn't understand why, and had to go to therapy, and I just got bullied a lot for it and made fun of, and so as I grew into who I was becoming, I was like, I don't ever want to feel that again. I don't want to feel any pain. I'm never going to cry. I'm never going to watch a movie and cry in front of it because somebody died, because that made me feel like I was insecure and unsafe. And so as I started to uncover more and more and more of that story, that is where it came from. Is it was the fear of completely afraid of looking like an idiot crying, because I thought, hey, that's where I'm going to get bullied from. It was the trauma of actually having to go in and deal with it. Because as many people don't know, your subconscious tells you it's like touching a hot stove. You do it once, it's like, whew, I never want to do that again. Well, when you start dipping into dealing with your past traumas and you go to therapy, you never want to go back because it's so painful. And so I was protecting myself subconsciously from actually feeling the pain that I needed to feel and going there. And from my parents, I never seen my parents cry. I never seen them upset. We would go to my brother's grave and my parents would all stand around and we'd be like, cool. Well, happy birthday, Dean. Do you guys want to go get ice cream? Do you want to go do something else? And so we never actually got to process that emotion. And so as I went through a lot of these processes, I was so scared of it. I never knew what it was. And it's like being colorblind. I just didn't know what being emotional was because we never experienced it in our family. Breakups, never cried. Hurting myself, never cried. Everything was there. It was just never allowed to just show up in my life. And same goes for anger. I never experienced anger either because we never processed that emotion. And so I buried that as well. And so I never experienced anger either because I thought it was so bad and this. So now I've had to learn how to actually get angry on purpose because it's good to get out of my body.
Mm.
Wow. Yeah, that's just really powerful. I would love it if you'd speak to, having been on that side of bottling all of that emotion and now being on this other side where, I know you're exploring a lot of this and, I know you were just at Tony Robbins and probably had a lot of stuff coming out and you just got married and I know that brings out the whole nother level of emotions too. Like speak a little bit to how is life, how is your perspectives different going from that bottling everything into like really digging in and learning how to process and use those emotions?
Yeah, the journey's been 7 years now of trying to work through it and learning every single day. Um, some of the challenges have come. Some of the beautiful things that have come is actually having to share this with my parents. And as I go through the journey, they have to relive part of it because I ask a lot of questions now saying, Mom or Dad, like when this happened, why did you guys bury all your emotion? Why didn't you show me pain? Why didn't you do a lot of this stuff? And they didn't know what they didn't know. They're doing the best they could with what they had. But having to get my parents to experience and relive some of the pain and trauma in their life so that I can uncover more of the story because I love learning about it and I want to get deeper into it. And in order for me to do that, I had to learn a little bit. So that was on the other side is the challenge, but it's also beautiful. The connection I have now with my mom is better than anything I've ever had before. She'll call me all the time crying now, being like, oh my God, Randy, this is what's going on in life. This is what's happened. I can now call her when I'm in traumatic states or going through some pain, and she's been like, "Mom, I just need to cry for 5 minutes. Is that okay?" And she just like welters. She's like, "Oh my God, yes!" Like it's so cool to see what it's done for them. For my friends around me that always watched how rock solid I was, to come back and actually share some vulnerability and emotion. I'm now the one that people call when they're going through some sort of traumatic time, that they feel comfortable enough to call me because I was able to open up about it. So as I opened up about it, it brought all these great gifts to me of better relationships with my parents, my brother, my friends, my wife now, and I can connect on a very different level about our intimacy. And I just learned at Tony Robbins, the story that I created was, maybe my parents didn't actually fully love me 100% unconditionally because they were scared that if they loved another child the same way they loved their son, they might lose them again, and they couldn't handle that pain. This is the story I tell myself. And so I thought, wow, what if I only ever loved my wife 99.9%, and there was that 0.01% there, that if I loved her too hard, she would go away. I've lost two people in my life, and that's a story quite frequent with people that have lost somebody. And so I did so much work at Tony Robbins about how I can show up differently for my wife and my family. And I came back and I just poured my heart out to her and cried for probably an hour and a half, and saying, "I don't think I've ever given you 100% of my heart. And I want to change that. And there's a reason why you've always been 0.01% insecure about our relationship."
Mhm.
And anyone that knows masculine and feminine energy, 0.01% to a masculine is like nothing. Like, dude, I love you, with you. I'm gonna be with you forever. There's no question about it. To a feminine, that might be like a 50% growth because it's so exponential. They have just this instinct that they can trust it. And as soon as I committed that to her, our relationship is 100% different. So by dealing with the pain and the trauma and actually going into where I went to, now my relationships are 100 times stronger, better, more confident. Well, what that's done is now Samantha trusts me that I'm never going to go anywhere now. And
Mhm.
now I have more freedom to be able to operate in life and do the things that I want to do, because when I go away to a conference for a few days, she's not worried. She knows now. And it was 0.01%. So magical. But now there's just this different level of trust that we have. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that shows the power of the back end. Nothing to do with business, just personal relationships have been able to do so much more.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think what you said, just that realization, like it makes me think of, when people have gone through great loss like that, and how, to come to recognize that you're holding that back because of that fear of, what if I lose this person too? And that makes me think there are probably so many people that have had a loss, just a tragic loss, that hold on to that piece because of that fear. And yeah, so that's really a powerful, I think, thing to recognize and to dig into, and be like, no, like I'm gonna give you 100%. Like that's a really beautiful thing. And I can't even imagine. I bet she was pretty psyched to hear
It
that
was it
too.
was a pretty emotional connection for us. I've always so I manufacture emotions. I'm very good at faking and saying and doing all the right things, saying all the right things, showing up all the right way. I can cry when I need to cry now. It's just 0.1% inauthentic because it's not all of me. And once I was able to start playing out with all of me, Marcus Collies was actually the first person to ever see it when we were at Tony Robbins. And we had to do an exercise, and I did it with him, and I broke down, and he just held me. And I was like, oh, this is the first time I've ever felt 100% of myself playing all out. And it was very cool to experience with another man, actually, because that has been a barrier for me, is this emotional connection to anybody, but especially into the male atmosphere. It's always tough and raw. And to have someone like Marcus, who spoke here earlier, be one of the first people to experience it with, was just so beautiful. And now I get to experience it every day because I actually can tap into that 100% now. I don't play there all the time, but I can tap into it when I want to.
Wow, beautiful. I love that.
I think one of the most powerful things that you've essentially explained, and I think you'd be in agreement with this. I think it's almost nearly impossible to give 100% without first going back into yourself and really getting, at least starting that step of healing and starting to really heal through that. Because when you're broken yourself, you have so many barriers, you have so many walls that are built up that it's nearly impossible to not only give all the love that is necessary and trust that's necessary, but also be able to receive that at the same time. I know personally myself, I struggled with that for many years as well, and I'm assuming, and this goes across the board for men and women. But when you go through extreme things, your body just naturally is putting up these walls of protection. And even the people that are closest to you, yeah, the 0.01 or whatever it is that you're holding back from, it's this fear of losing them or whatever it may be, and or losing yourself, and not being adequate for that individual. And so sometimes you can't give yourself when you feel that way either. But really beautiful story, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just clean that up for you there. You said, going back and dealing with it myself has been so great for me, but I bet there's 90% of the population hasn't actually gone and dealt with some of their past or their trauma or the things, because it's very scary. My wife is one of them. She wants to go deeper into her past, but it takes a certain skill set, time, part of your life. Usually a trauma has to happen for you to want to go back or to relive it. If you're living a pretty good life, you don't really want to go dive deep into some childhood traumas that are going to put you in a space. So having a really good therapist that you can start building relationships with, or a coach, or a circle of people that are frequently diving deep into it. That's something that Mike, I know you've done a lot of work in this space, and Diana, you as well, but like, going deep into our childhood is scary and it's stressful. But when you have people around you that believe in it and support it and want to help you get there, it actually becomes empowering. I want to do the work now because it allows me to go deep into where I'm going. It's like the deeper I go into this story, the better I come back the other way. It's like a slingshot. And so the further back I go and the more work I do and the more work I do, then when I come back out the other side, I'm actually like 100 times better human for everybody around me. And you start getting addicted to this, like, wow, I want to become the best version of Randy ever. And that's mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever it is. And every time I unravel a little bit more of the onion, I get to become that better person. And that's what I just strive to be now in my life, is just the best version of Randy that I can be.
Yeah.
Love that. So let's tackle each of the workshops. We want to talk about some of the tools for breakthrough, and we've already talked about some. I want you to touch on faith and fitness, and how those two things also have played into your journey.
That's like, I haven't actually shared this story publicly. I don't think I've ever shared this publicly, but as I was going through my journey of entrepreneurship, and in 2022, I had to make some hard decisions of feeling uninspired about this company that I just built 6 years building, my real estate investment company. I was feeling lost in my fitness. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I heard some people talking about how they used physical fitness to get their mental health right. And I was like, that sounds kind of interesting. I said, the harder I worked on my physical fitness, the more mentally tough I got, which made me, more prepared for what was to come in the seasons that were ahead. And I had some pretty daunting questions ahead of me. So I said, you know what? I'm going to sign up for the craziest fitness challenge that I can find. And this event here is called 29029, which is where you hike up a mountain and gondola down for the equivalent height of 29,029 feet, which is Mount Everest. So it's called 29029 Everesting. So I hiked up and gondola down, and it was at 11 p.m. Everyone else on the mountain, you have 36 hours to complete. And everyone else on the mountain was basically stopping at 11 o'clock and saying, you know what, we're going to go sleep. We're, of the 8 laps we had to do, because we did Whistler here in British Columbia, it was 8 laps that you had to complete. They had done 6. They go, we got 2 laps left. We're going to go sleep, and then we'll come back out in the morning and finish. And I was like, I didn't come here to sleep and take it easy. I came here because I wanted to find who I was or what I wanted. I want to find something. And I was looking for, I had never come from a religious background. I had never come from any sort of faith, but I just said, I just want some sort of sign for something in my life. And so I hiked up the last 2 laps by myself, middle of the night, pitch black, just me, a headlamp. It's about 2.5 hours up each time. And I did my last 2 laps, and it was on the last lap, I was hiking up through the mountain, clear moon skies, and it felt like the Holy Spirit had struck me. Didn't know what it was at the time. And it just said, Randy, you're going to leave the real estate space. You're going to leave everything. You're going to go all in on Go Big to Give Big, and you need to start trusting something bigger than yourself. Didn't know what it was. It was kind of like, holy smokes, that's like, never felt that before. And so I was literally crying as I was going up the mountain, going like, my life's going to change. I just like, whatever that was, that moment, I'm tearing up right now thinking about it. I was like, I'll never forget that moment. I finished the hike 23 hours straight, no sleep, barely just eating and gondoling up and down. And I was like, holy smokes, this is amazing. I just completed this huge accomplishment. I finished at 3 in the morning or 3:30 in the morning. I go back to bed. I wake up the next day and I'm like, I didn't get what I needed. I know now a lot of what it is, but it's like God had a better message for me. And at the time I was sitting going like, I felt like I didn't get the full message. And so I said, well, I know if I go back to that pain cave and I go back to that space, that's where I found some true callings. And so 7 days later, I signed up for a marathon. So the hike was 52 kilometers, so just over a marathon. Marathon's 42 kilometers, which is like 22 miles or something like that. And so I hiked 52 kilometers. And then 7 days later, I ran a full marathon, 42 kilometers. I did it in 3 hours and 42 minutes. And it was on that marathon that I had some of the most profound, like, come to Jesus moments where I built this entire model for Go Big to Give Big. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, how to do it. It all played out. Like, next 10 years of my life flashed in front of me. And I'll never forget the hill I was going up where I was like, this is the worst feeling I've ever had of pain in my life. And it's the most clarity I've ever had in what I wanted to do in this world. And that's when I continued to push through. Fast forward to February, I meet a guy named Marcus Collius, and he says, Randy, come to my office. I want to hang out. I told him about some of the biggest business decisions I had to make if I wanted to go after this thing I felt on my run. And he said, well, maybe you should just go sit at the water and ask God some questions. And I'm like, Marcus, I've never had a mentor or anyone tell me about God or religion or anything. He says, cool. All you have to do is just go sit by the water and just ask the question, why did you send me that message? And it was in that moment I realized that I had to explore all of what I was going through, leave some of the relationships I was in, and have had great guidance from Marcus and you guys now about this faith into God. And I realized now that on that journey of 29029 was the first time God ever spoke to me and said, hey, I know exactly where you want to go, because it's the first time you've ever allowed me to speak to you. The first time I was ever mentally clear enough to hear it. And then it was on that marathon that I got clear that the Holy Spirit hit me and said, hey, this is the idea. All you got to do is just show up. And then it was working with Marcus and with you guys to get completely clear on it. It was in these moments that God is now taking me to do whatever I want to do. And now life is easy. I just show up. I don't have to make any decisions. I don't have to think. And so I attach a lot of my fitness to finding faith. And then now I continue to explore that. I just signed up for a backyard race where you run 4 mile loop and you start at the top of every hour. So at noon, you start and you run 4 miles. And if you finish in 30 minutes, you get 30 minutes to rest. If you finish in 50 minutes, you get 10 minutes to rest. And you see how many loops you can do. And I'm excited. I'm going to go till I can't run anymore. And I'm the last man standing. I don't know, because I know the deeper I go into that pain cave and into that fitness, for whatever reason, that's where God just talks to me more. And, I'm finding other ways for him to speak to me, but I know in those moments, that's where it comes from. So I'm really using the fitness world to find my faith and then just trusting everything in between.
Man, that is an
So
awesome
cool.
story.
Great
Wow.
story. And for
I don't know
us,
if you guys have heard that one either, because I
No.
haven't
No.
shared it publicly.
I thought
know.
we knew you, man.
I know. And that is such a cool story. And for us, like, just even to have been a little part of your faith journey, and just even seeing how far you've come in that journey in such a short time. What's exciting for me and for Micah is just like, you are literally you're just starting.
Mhm.
There's so much more. And like, we're so excited to see that for you as as you continue your relationship with the Lord, because what you're doing with Go Big to Give Big is already like, he planted this in your heart. Like, that is him that planted that in your heart. And it's like, you were already serving him and doing this stuff without even like realizing it. And so it's like, now that you realize it, it's like, I can't even wait to see what it becomes. And we're here for it, and just so excited for you, and just for everything. I know you've got big ideas, and I think it's going to be bigger than you can even imagine.
Yeah, it's been amazing, and the journey into faith has really helped the business in the sense that I said I don't have to make a lot of the decisions anymore. I can just put them up to somebody bigger. They just tell me if I should go left or right, and it just gets done. Whether it's the good option or the bad option, at least I don't have to make a lot of the decisions now, and the good things just happen. And something that I've got also clear on is my ability to talk about it is a lot easier now. When I didn't have God or faith, I was trying to explain go big to give big to people of giving and stuff. Now I can go into any business and say like, hey, if you're a good servant of your money and you are doing good with it, if you're donating every single month and you believe that God is going to do good things for you, then you start doing it. Well, then all of a sudden you're going to have this abundance on the back end because God's going to see that you're a good stewardess of the money, whether that's $1, $10, $100, 1 hour, 10 hours, 100 hours. If you are giving and you start that initiative, then God is going to say, cool, I'm just going to keep pouring all this stuff into you because I know it's going out the other end. But if you're not being a good servant and you're just a greedy capitalist with it, or in whatever space you are, sometimes God might not be able to serve you as good because now you are not being a good servant with your money, and he might not. And it wasn't until I found faith till I was actually able to explain everything that I created in Go Big to Give Big before, like now that I can see it, I'm like, oh, this is exactly it. I was always a good servant with my money. My parents taught me how to be a good kid and hold the door for people and donate $10 every time you get something, and how to actually help people and help the old lady across the street. I've always done those things. And now it's like I've been a good servant. That's why I've been blessed in everything that I've done. I don't know why. I was used to tell people I just touch stuff and it turns to gold. I don't get why. It's because I was a good servant and God just kept pouring into me and saying, hey, you're doing good. I'll just keep doing good for you. Even though I might take some friends away from you and stuff, it's to help you realize that you have a bigger mission in this world and a bigger purpose. So now it just became so clear and easy for me to speak about by saying, hey, I want to help more businesses become good servants to help them grow their businesses, because the ones that give are the ones that are going to flourish in this space, and the ones that don't are the ones that are going to get taken down. Because now that consumerism's all on board with this mission, it's just going to become so much easier for God to do his work.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it is that concept of like there's so many people, there's so many things that need help now. And so it's, as entrepreneurs, we've always felt that too, of like it's part of why we want to grow. It's part of why we want to do bigger things, because it just allows us to have even more impact, and just I think it also comes down to like, God awards obedience. So, and that's like what you're saying is even before you knew him and had a relationship with him, you were being obedient to when he says give, because you give, you don't
Yeah.
hold back, you don't, he says like when you're supposed to give something, just give it. Like don't even oh well, and don't give less. Like if he says give, just give, because he will always pour it back on you. So we don't have to worry about holding on to things because he's so abundant. So that's beautiful. I want to give people a chance for be thinking of what your questions and takeaways are. But Randy, can you just kind of give people an overview of what Go Big to Give Big is, like how you work with people, how people can get in touch with you about that, and then we're going to share about the conference, and
Yeah.
then we're going to do questions.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So Go Big to Good is exactly what it sounds. It's inspiring people to go bigger with their dreams and goals so they can give bigger with their profits, and being in a good servant of money. If you have the ability to scale your business and grow your business and make more revenue and you are doing good with it, then you should go after that pursuit of that opportunity. Instead of being scared of going after your business, if you attach a giving initiative to it, you get excited about going after it because of the impact you can make. And this is all part of my stuff now, but it's like if you are obedient and you say, cool, well, I don't know why, but I feel like I need to grow my business 10 times bigger. If you had the giving initiative, that giving initiative is going to be 10 times bigger. And now you're going to be in abundance and doing good service work for the world. So that's really what Go Big to Give Big is all about. What I found is that a lot of people really want to make this happen. A lot of people want to donate more. They want to give more. They want to make more impact. They want to volunteer more times, and they want to help more people. But like choosing a Netflix show, you get so caught up in making a decision that you make no decision, right? You don't know if you want to choose a drama, a thriller, a rom-com, or a horror show. You don't know if you want to support a animal thing, cancer, children, sex trafficking, you don't know. And so you oftentimes don't make a decision. So what I've done a really good job of is being able to come into organizations or people and find out who they are, what they do, what they believe in, some of their stuff, helping them source out a charity, building that partnership and relationship with them, creating the initiatives in their businesses so that they can scale it, they can grow it, and they can get back. And I also do that individually with people inside. I have like a community where people that just want to talk more about like the impact they can make in the world more than the cars they drive or the houses they own. And so we've created this incredible community as well where people can come together and just talk about the impact that they want to make in the world, brainstorm ideas, talk about different charities that are being supported. Because you would never know, but I have a friend that runs something called Baseball Face Cares, and it's an organization that sends sporting equipment to third world countries for kids that are playing baseball with rocks and cardboard. They literally put cardboard on their hand to catch the rocks they're throwing at each other. And when you hear that, you're like, oh, that's like so sad. And he's like, for $100, you can buy 4 baseballs, 4 gloves, and 4 bats and send it to them. Well, now I'm like, yeah, I want to support that. So that's what the community is all about. It's just sharing these kind of places that we support with each other and the work we're doing. But it's all about finding ways to use giving initiatives to mix with your business or personal life, whatever you want to do, to buy more happiness, create more good memories. And I'll leave with this. It's part of my talk that I normally do, but I encourage people, take $100 a month and go do some good with it. And I found this out because 90 minutes and a dinner with my wife got us 90 minutes of happiness. After that $100 dinner, we went back home. We never talked about it again. That same $100 in 90 minutes, I went and fed a bunch of homeless people downtown. And we were able to create a memory between my wife and I that we still talk about to this day of how many donuts and the goods that we went and did. Same $100, same 90 minutes. Imagine if you got rid of that one dinner and you went and did that one service work every single month for 12 months. You created 12 memories with your partner that will last a lifetime because of the good work that you did. And at the same time, if you have kids, imagine including your kids in that, in the world that you would raise if your kids were coming to you every single month saying, Mommy or Daddy, I want to go, save the whales this month. Great. Now you get the chance to research a charity, talk with your kids, and hang out. But the true gold comes when you're walking down the street and your kid sees a homeless person and they look at you and say, Mommy or Daddy, can we take our $100 and go buy a blanket for this person this month? That's the humanity that I want to create in this world. But it starts by just starting with $100 a month, by you committing to it, to creating a memory that is going to last you longer than the 90 minutes you get from dinner.
I love that.
Man, imagine just waking up and being a part of that. Those that haven't had the opportunity to give a lot, we understand what that feels like. And man, that is spot on. Just like $100, or if you can't even afford $100, $50, like figure out what that budget is for you that you're spending on stuff that you shouldn't be buying anyways. And go and just give. Like, as much as I talk about Jesus and I talk about fitness, like, make giving up there, because it just pours back into you. You want to go be your best self to then go and help other people get out of the place they're in.
Yeah, I love that.
Yep. And time. Yeah. Time
or
too, of
your
course.
time too, for sure, Brandon. Yeah, that's I actually love that challenge, like what a cool challenge. And you're so right of like, instead of going out to I mean, we could start doing that.
We could.
We should. Let's do it. Okay, we're in. We're doing
We're
it. It's happening.
And it's meant to be simple. It's not meant to be complicated. It's one day a month or 1 hour a month or $100 a month and just picking a charity and just serving. No, there's no statement in there. It's just literally that. You could go donate your time. You could go donate an hour, but it's the act of starting that is the biggest thing. Because once you get addicted to the giving, then you just realize, like you said, Mike, it's just like, oh my God, this feels so good. I just want to do it all the time. And if I could have more money and more time, I could do a lot more of it. Well, how do I create more money and more time? I just lean into creating a bigger business or doing more so that I can free up more resources and more time so I can do more of the good stuff on the other end. I just want to serve the rest of my life. I just want to be like
and man,
servant.
this transitions so well. A lot of you guys have been to all of the Turn Your Pain to Purpose. I mean, all the people that we brought on are like people that God brought into our lives to be a part of this conference. And a lot of these people outside of Marcus, that we've known a really long time, God is just like connected. Marcus connected us to Randy, and then Darren as well. But like God has orchestrated this just amazing group of human beings. A lot of you guys have spent at least an hour hearing each of these people talk, and we still have more. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so excited to
I
introduce you
know.
guys and the speakers, just for the speakers to all get to
I
know one
know.
another too.
Yeah.
You know, and that kind of pivots it up into, you know, I think we're 30 days out, 29, 30 days out from the conference, and holy smokes. I mean, I'm so excited for it, because I'm so excited to see what God's going to do. You
Yeah.
know, we show up and do what we do and give our all, and just see the impact that it can make. I can't wait.
Yeah, I love it. So gobigtogivebig.com that's your website where people can go and just check out,
Yeah.
Yeah,
contact you and find out more and find out how to get
absolutely.
involved and stuff too. And then yeah, so lean and level up. We got 30 days. We've never met Randy in person, actually.
No.
I
So
know.
we meet you in person in 30 days.
I told
can't believe
Samantha that I'm gonna full cleanse and body build for the next 30 days to come hang out with you
Yes.
guys. So
Oh, it's gonna be awesome. So we want all of you guys who are here. We would love, I know a bunch of you are already coming and planning on being at the conference with us. So we're super excited to see you there. For those of you who are not signed up yet, we would really love you to join us. Like, it's truly going to be something so impacting. And like Micah said, there's been so much crazy stuff going on behind the scenes, and God is just doing these things, like, and we're like, I don't even know what's going on anymore. Like, we're just, Jesus, take the wheel and let's see what happens. But we know it's going to be really powerful. So so for anyone that is wanting to come to the conference, I'm putting, it's leanandlevelup.com, and we've had the coupon code purpose, and that is still up. It's still for $150 off, but that is expiring. This will be the last time that we're going to offer that. And I'll write it into the chat here. So you can
and
you can use that coupon code for $150 off, but it'll only last for the next 48 hours, and then it's gone.
if you heard my story, it all started by going to a conference that changed my life forever. I paid over $5,000 to go to that conference. And I know it's less of an investment to go to your guys's, and it's going to be just as powerful and impactful. So if you've been sitting on the edge of a story of something that's trauma in your life, or something that's like, I just know there's something here, if you lean in and you level up into that, it is going to be a powerful conference. And I will give anybody any amount of time that shows up to share my story or support them with theirs, because it was going to a conference and committing to it that made all the difference in my world, that started me on this journey. So I just encourage everybody to get to these conferences, because that's where the true magic happens.
Yeah.
We're going to build a lot of time within the conference too. So you guys know, I mean, all the speakers will have their time on stage, but all the speakers will be able to, you know, make those relationships with the people that are in the crowds. We're going to make time for community and for connection, you know, and that's very, very important for us, so that people are left extremely impacted, have all the tools necessary to make the changes in their lives, and really ultimately level up, like you said, but make 2024 their best, so that they can be their best.
Yeah. And so Randy's going to be doing some breakout sessions. He's also going to be heading up our charity for Lean and Level Up is a group called Mission E4. That is the group that we sponsor children through Haiti with. And so they're actually going to be there. And so Randy is going to do his magic and help us just share about the importance of the work that's happening in Haiti and how people can help and give back. So we're super excited about that piece too, and it's going to be really powerful. So can't wait.
We've had so many things happen recently, and I want to tell people, but I'm like, man, I also want to like keep them a secret, you know, like to be able to share at later points. But we had something crazy happen with someone from Haiti, potentially a big wig in Haiti happen. Oh man.
Who knows?
Anyways,
we won't say it because who knows what's actually going to happen. So I want to open it up for you guys. If anybody has a question or takeaways, either one, or you know, just comments in general, if you want to just raise your hands and just we'd love to get your feedback and your thoughts, and see what you guys are feeling.
I'd like to actually start. I think one of the most powerful things, I love your giving. I love all of that. I love your heart story, specifically because I've been diving into it for many years now when it comes to male and any level of trauma that a male goes through, and just it being so difficult for whatever reason for males to share what it is that they've gone through, and then that how that impacts everything in their life, from relationships, marriages, children, to their work, to everything, and they just don't know how to express that and how to get that out. And I've been feeling very called. I know there's a lot of other men out there too, of just making it and being so vocal and being like, it's okay to share, it's okay to share with those people that you care about, and open that up, because you got to take that first step of healing. And man, it was just a mastery of how you did that. You kind of had to hit that rock bottom, and a lot of males, we have to hit kind of a rock bottom place, and then you can pivot out of that. And then for whatever reason, we do it once, we do it twice, the emotion starts coming out, and then you realize, dude, it's okay to be emotional and also masculine. Like, those two things can actually work together.
It absolutely can.
Yeah. What you guys think? Sharon, what do you got? I'm gonna start just calling on you guys.
It was all so good. And, talking about emotions and stuff, I still think back often to Rock Body, where I thought I was just going on a nice little retreat, and I cried, I don't know how many times on that trip, which was totally unexpected. And kind of since, the tears flow a little bit more than they used to. But yeah, it was definitely an experience when you let it all go.
Not only that, you crushed it too. You did your photo shoot, you crushed it, which is scary for a lot of folks that haven't done that for the first time.
Oh, I know. It was a big weekend for sure. So it was so good. But I definitely appreciate you sharing your story, Randy, and where you were and what you went through and everything else. It certainly makes, us think a little bit more about things. Thank you.
I just thank you for sharing that. I just shared in the chat podcast episode that I did. It's from a live event. It's called One Last Talk. And it was the retreat I went to. This guy named Philip McKernan ran the retreats. He's a coach, and he created this thing called One Last Talk. And it's like TEDx, but for people that are sharing their stories for the first time publicly about some of their biggest traumas and fears in the world. And it was basically, if it's your last day on earth, what would you say and who would you say it to? And oftentimes he gets a lot of people that have been raped that wish they could have told their children about it because they were so scared of what happened in life. People that have been to prison that have killed people that, what would they say and who would they say it to? And it's not meant to be like a entrepreneurial, like, oh my God, here's the 5 steps to life. It's meant to be the deep hearted, like, what would you tell your mom? What would you tell your dad, your brother, your closest friends? And I did mine on talking to my parents, saying that I wish they actually gave me the skills of learning how to be emotional. And I shared it in the chat there, but I did that live in front of 150 people, sharing for the first time how I wish my parents actually cried in front of me to equip me with the skills to handle when I lost my best friend, instead of going down the path of burying all the emotion and going through it. I might have been able to process it better. So if anyone's interested, it's a really, really cool episode. And I encourage you to get the book called One Last Talk by Philip McKernan. One of the most transformational books of life. It is so good. I recommend everybody read it.
Wow. Okay. What was it? One Last Talk?
One Last Talk.
One Last Talk by Philip McKernan.
Okay.
Anthony.
Yeah, for me, it was really interesting because you never really hear about a downside to positivity in your life. Everybody thinks that's how we should be, For someone who has a slightly more morose side, people say, oh, you need to be positive, this, that, and the other. So to hear the fact that being positive all the time also has a downside was quite an enlightening thing for me. So I appreciate you sharing that, Randy.
Mm.
That's not my excuse to stop trying to be more positive. I'm just saying that it was it was kind of interesting to hear the other side of the coin from that regard. So thank you.
Yeah,
I-
I thought that was a really great
Mhm.
perspective too, and it's funny because here, in Vermont, my stepmom shared a book with me that I'm gonna get and read, and it's called Pain, the Gift That Nobody Wants. And just reading, it's actually from a doctor's perspective of people that don't experience pain and how negative of a thing that actually is, because pain is like a signal. So just these crazy stories of people that have whatever illnesses that they don't experience pain. So it's just, it's like, it's the whole concept of how pain is such a gift for us, and how not, like, going through life without experiencing pain would actually be actually a horrible life. So it kind of goes like kind of what you're talking about. It's kind of all in that wheelhouse of just that kind of reverse side of it. But yeah, you still got to try to be more positive, Anthony.
He does good. He does good.
One of the things I learned, Anthony, is that going through life, everything being perfect and everything being great was not healthy for me, in the sense that anger and sadness and stuff are emotions that are natural to the human body. And when you don't express them, you actually bury them, which is actually what led to my non-epileptic seizure, was because I buried so much that I never got to express it and never came out, and it eventually just shut my body down. And so anger is actually a thing that I still struggle with to this day. I cannot, like aside from like somebody cutting you off in traffic, not being like, "Oh, thanks, sir." It's like I get a little frustrated, but I don't let anger flow into my life. If it does, it's very quick, it's very short, and it's out the door. But anger is actually one of the most profound emotions that we need to release to get out of our bodies. So I actually have to do an exercise called anger on purpose, where I actually have to, like, my coach brought me a baseball bat and a big, huge like mat. And he was like, "Randy, you need to beat this mat with this baseball bat." And I was like, "Why? It's just stupid." And he's like, "Because you need to let your anger out." I'm like, "I don't have anger." And so I was like, kind of like half beating. And he's like, "No, like, let your anger out." And I'm like, "This is stupid. I don't have anger. Anger's bad. Anger's horrible." And then he said some words to me about, imagine, or I want you to picture this to be the guy that just killed your best friend. And I was like, "Don't talk to me like that." And then he was like, "If that was the guy that just killed your best friend in front of you, what would you do?" And I just went berserk, and I just destroyed this little thing that he had in front of me. And that's when I realized that it's actually in me. And if I don't drip it out, that could happen uncontrollably if somebody said something to me. So I'm learning how to play with these emotions that you actually need to have, anger and sadness and stuff. But if I can control it in a controlled state, that allows me to operate in a whole different manner. So there's a lot of stuff that I do is like going golfing, like going to the driving range and hitting golf balls as hard as I can with no intention of playing good golf is a good form of me for releasing it. Working out to a point where I literally am puking is a good way of me releasing it. And those are ways that I find anger and sadness and pain in a controlled manner, because it's still very, very hard for me to tap into it, but I have to in order to get there. So if you do find somebody that is perfect, be very aware, because they do probably have a lot of those same emotions. They're just going to be uncontrollably triggered in a certain circumstance that's going to overload and explode.
Good. Marsha, what are you thinking?
Oh, I was just in awe of his ability to surrender. Because, as you walk through a relationship with God, I don't know about you guys, but I will constantly try to take something back instead of continuously to surrender. So, him being just barely crawling in his relationship with God, but his ability to surrender on his decision making is like amazing to me, because I'm always trying to pull it back, I can do it better, and then it's like, okay, he shows me again that I'm wrong. And once I surrender again, everything gets better. And when I'm continuously tithing and giving, and, that there's always more coming in, and just everything he was talking about, he knew that before he was even having the awe moments with God, which is makes me wonder how big he's going to be. Like you were saying, what his journey is going to become. It's his story got me all teary-eyed too, because I've had those on wonders where God shows up and speaks. and he's telling you that he's got you. And I know he didn't know the voice at the time, but like, I'm so happy he had that, just to know he gets to feel the love of God and how unconditional, and just knowing my favorite verse is, leaving the 99 to come save him. I've experienced that in my own story. God left the 99 to come save me. He saved me off the couch after my rape. He was the one that sent the Holy Spirit nonstop that entire 2-3 months to come after me, to let me know he was still there, and to know he does this for everybody. It's just amazing. I love that part of his story, and I almost felt like that's his story, but all of it's great. All of it's great, but that was my favorite part.
Yeah,
And
Beautiful.
pretty cool.
really cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah. So,
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, it's very impressive, because I agree with the fitness thing. I call it my sanctuary time. It's where I get my time with God. And I've had many moments where that's when we have our best conversations. And some of them are, me being angry with God. But I love everything about his story. It's so very cool, Randy. And I'm so impressed by your ability as a man to really dig deep, because I like what Mike was saying. I think that's such a necessary thing, that it's been such a stigma about men not dealing with trauma. So I love that you're out there doing it, and you're showing how to do it, and you're embracing it, and it's not a weakness. That's so much strength in doing that. The amount of strength that it takes to have the courage to be vulnerable is just amazing. I'm super proud of you, and especially your age, knowing where you started this venture. You're so wise beyond your years. I hope, I just pray that God will use you to save so many other men by using you as a vessel. So I just feel that for you too. I feel like that's more your story. I don't know, but it's very cool.
Amen to that.
I'm glad I'm glad I get to hear about it, and maybe eventually even have someone that's very close to me that maybe even gets to hear your story. So,
Happy to share it anytime.
that's awesome.
Love it. Well,
Yeah,
Marsha,
I did take down your
Marsha
podcast
will
because
be
I
at,
like
yeah,
that
Marsha
too.
will be at the conference, so you guys will be able to meet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
you put Mike and myself and Marcus on stage, and I'm sure we'll just cry
Okay,
uncontrollably
that's
for
great.
no reason.
That's okay, because I will too.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, good.
Love it. Oh, that's awesome. So let's thank you so much for sharing that, Marsha. And
Thank you.
if we get time for like one more, if anybody has you want to pop your hands up if anybody has just something they'd like to share, or either questions or takeaways, or just something to share with Randy. Just
Brandon always has something to
Brandon's
say. I
always
just don't
got
know
something.
if he's in the middle of something.
Yeah, I know. But
He was chiming in. Yeah,
Melody.
he may not be there.
Oh,
Oh,
there he is.
there he is.
There
He's
he
working
is.
out.
He's working out. All right. All right.
I just every one of the speakers that you guys have had on this has absolutely been inspiring in different ways, and that's why honestly I'm so just excited to see everybody in one place. And gosh, I was thinking of something of his story of when he pushes himself. Like, I would never in my wildest dreams ever attempt to loop a mountain or whatever he was doing. I just never have ever tried to put myself in that situation. You kind of inspired me to do it. So maybe, I don't know if I'll do that, but I'll probably do something a little crazy. If you put your mind to it, you can do anything, right?
I can assure you the
and as you dive
biggest
deeper into the
transformations
Bible,
on that mountain. Oh, I was
No.
gonna say the biggest transformations that came on this mountain were people like yourselves that said, I could never even do one lap. And they go up there and they do 5 of the 8 laps. They don't even complete. those are some of the biggest transformations on that mountain. So it's not about completing or doing it. It was about the fact that you said, hey, I can't do that. Then you go, cool, that's the thing that I got to go do now, because now I just said that I couldn't do it. And it was an event. It's called 29 Everesting. It's the best culture you have ever seen in your entire life to support somebody to go through some of the biggest transformation. It is unbelievable. One of the best events ever.
So,
yeah, but then you back to back, you did something else. You did a marathon.
I did a marathon a few days later. Yeah.
Inspiring, my friend. I'm looking forward to meeting
Thank
you and
you.
giving you a hug.
Absolutely.
Sharon wants to know what mountain it was.
Whistler.
Whistler, yeah.
Whistler. Okay.
And something I want to touch even deeper on, when you get really geeky into the Bible and you start seeing connections to, like, when did a lot of the men end up going and speaking to the Lord? They first had to exert themselves by climbing a mountain, and for whatever reason, the connection between that and then being able to hear the Lord the way they needed to, I mean, it's like, dude, that story is so powerful, Randy. And I think Marsha's spot on. Like, I love go big to give big, but then there's like go big to give big to bring a lot of people to Christ. That story's powerful, man. It's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to share it. And Dan, I haven't even got to tell you this, but I went for a run yesterday, and the Holy Spirit was just so present during the entire run. And I figured out so many things that I want to talk to you about for E4 and the event, and how to kind of like get it all flowing. It was just like probably 50 minutes of just like running the entire thing through my head 50 times. I'm like, I got some ideas I want to share with you. So
Yes.
running is my place to go and be present. But it was apparent what was being told to me. So I want to run you through some ideas to see if it's something that aligns with you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait. It's going to be good. Good. Well, all right, you guys, thank you so much. Thank you guys for tuning in and being here, and just being a part of these. And we just really appreciate you. And Randy, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your vulnerability. And just, man, I don't know. We're gonna have to just figure out how to keep the workshops going, because they've just been so good. And I mean, we have more coming up in January, starting up January 3rd, which is next
Oh
Wednesday.
man, we still have Brent and Alita.
Oh, we've
and
got Brent, we've got Alita,
I
we've
just
got
can't wait to
Diana,
share these people
we've
with
got
you.
Tammy, we've got Scott Donald. Yeah, we've still got an impressive lineup coming up, but it's just been wonderful. And we thank you so much. Randy, you guys, go big to give big.com. And you can find him on social media and stuff
Yep.
too. And come to the conference, because then you get to see him in person.
Yes.
And we do too.
He loves long hugs.
Long hugs. Lots of long hugs. Cool. Well, awesome. And thank you guys so much. And we will see all of you again really soon. And
We'll see you in the new year.
Happy New Year.
Yes. See you next year.
We'll see you guys next year. All
See
right.
you guys.
Amazing, guys. We'll see you later. Thank you so much.
Amen.
Bye.
Bye.